The Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 8 is here, and trust me, this finale is about to shake everything we thought we knew. It's not just an ending, it's the moment where secrets spill. Relationships are tested to the edge, and everyone has to decide exactly where they stand. The title alone, "My Mind is Made Up," screams that choices will be final, no more second chances, no more maybe next season. And after everything we've seen in the past episodes, the betrayals, the rumors, the power moves, you just know some of these decisions are going to cut deep. But the real question is, whose mind is made up, and what does that mean for the rest of them? This finale picks up in the shadow of George's shocking shooting. And already the tension is off the charts. The whispers across the elite circles aren't about who did it, not yet, but about what this means for the Russells' grip on their power. Bertha, as always, is playing it cool in public, but you can see it, she's calculating, turning over every move in her head. Because if George's enemies smell weakness, the vultures will swoop in, and let's be honest. In this world, sympathy is just another kind of currency, and Bertha knows exactly how to spend it. Meanwhile, the people closest to George are moving fast. Marion is caught in the middle of chaos, literally with George's blood on her dress. And she's not about to waste time. She gets William involved. And suddenly the drama shifts into a race to save George and hold everything together before the gossip gets too loud, because in the Gilded Age, a scandal travels faster than the truth ever could. But here's the thing, while everyone's focusing on George's survival, other stories are bubbling under the surface, ready to explode. Larry, for one, has been holding back his feelings for Marion for far too long. They've been dancing around the truth, and you can just feel that this episode is going to force their hands. With Bertha potentially softening toward Marion after she steps in to help George, there's a rare moment for them to get back what they lost. But knowing these two, nothing comes easy. I can already hear the tension in their conversations. The way they'll circle each other like they're still not sure if it's safe to say what they really want. And then there's Peggy. Poor Peggy, every season, it feels like she's handed another heartbreak wrapped in the prettiest paper. William finally knows the truth about her past, and you can see the gears turning in his head. Does he stand by her and risk the wrath of his family? Or does he step back like so many others have? What makes this so tense is that William isn't as predictable as the rest. He's still new to us, still a bit of a mystery. And that makes it impossible to know which way he'll go. But with the Black Elite Ball coming up, and Peggy walking into that room with her head high, I'm hoping he chooses to stand beside her, publicly, across town. The other players aren't just waiting for things to unfold, they're moving in. Oscar's got his own little scheme going, tied up neatly with Mrs. Winterton and Bertha's complicated history. The fact that he's asking Bertha for a favor here tells you one thing. Whatever's coming next, it's strategic, and it's not just about manners and invitations. In this world, who's on the guest list can shift alliances overnight, and Bertha, she's not one to give without expecting something in return. But make no mistake, the heart of this finale isn't just the glitter of Newport or the high society dance cards. It's about loyalty, who you fight for when it's inconvenient, who you protect when the world's watching, and who you're willing to cut off completely. And with the clock running out on Season 3, you can feel it. Those choices are about to be made. And they're going to leave marks that last a whole lot longer than the final waltz. As we move deeper into Episode 8, the air in Newport feels heavy, like everyone's holding their breath for what comes next. George's survival is no longer just a private family matter, it's the talk of every drawing room, whispered over tea and fanned into the latest scandal in the papers. But here's the twist. Instead of lying low, Bertha is already turning this to her advantage. You can see it in the way she greets guests, the way she subtly reminds people of the Russells' resilience. That Newport ball isn't just a party anymore, it's a statement. It's Bertha saying, "We are untouchable," and for her, that message is worth more than all the jewels in her collection. Still, the drama is far from over. While George is on the mend, the shooting leaves unanswered questions. Who wanted him gone badly enough to pull a stunt like this? Was it personal, tied to some grudge from his business deals, or something much bigger, with roots in the ruthless politics of the Gilded Age elite? No one's naming names yet, but you can feel the suspicion curling around certain corners. People smile in public, but in private, they're connecting dots and wondering if the person sipping champagne next to them might have ordered the hit. And then there's the matter of Marion. She's juggling more than anyone should have to, helping George, facing her own tangled love life, and navigating Bertha's complicated approval. The blood on her dress isn't just literal, it's symbolic of the mess she's caught in. This episode hints that her actions here could redefine how Bertha sees her. Bertha's not the type to be moved by sentiment, but a life-saving gesture like this, that could be the thing that cracks her icy exterior toward Marion. And if that happens, It changes everything for her and Larry. Speaking of Larry, the man's been steady in public but restless underneath. His loyalty to his family is unshakable. But his heart, that's still with Marion. No matter how many polite smiles he gives in other directions. There's a moment, quiet but telling, where Larry seems ready to close the distance between them. As if the fear of losing her for good is finally louder than his pride. And that's the beauty of finals like this, the stakes push people into making decisions they've been dodging all season. For Larry, this could be his make or break moment, but it's not just the Russells' world that's shifting. Over in Peggy's sphere, emotions are running just as high. William's knowledge of her past hangs over them like a shadow, and the uncertainty is exhausting. The Black Elite Ball looms ahead. A glittering event that should be about celebration, but for Peggy, it's a test. Will William show up for her, not just in private but in front of the people who matter? Or will he do what so many men in this era do, let his mother's opinions dictate his future? The heartbreak here is that Peggy deserves someone who's willing to fight for her, especially after all the loss she's endured. And while we don't know what William will decide, the tension in every glance between them says we're about to find out. Meanwhile, Oscar is playing a game all his own. His request to Bertha about Mrs. Winterton isn't as simple as it sounds. In high society, every favor has layers, and this one comes with history, grudges, and opportunity. Mrs. Winterton showing up at the ball in that dark, possibly morning dress? That's not just fashion, that's a statement, and Oscar's push to get her and tells us he's threading together alliances for reasons we can only guess at right now. In the Gilded Age, social positioning was as deadly as any weapon. And Oscar's been at this long enough to know exactly which moves will pay off later. And through all of this, Bertha's decision about allowing divorced women into her ball shakes the status quo. She's challenging the unspoken rules of the elite, pushing boundaries that even her closest allies think are too risky. But Bertha's never played for small victories. If she wins this battle, it's not just about inclusivity. It's about showing that she can reshape the rules of the game entirely. And make no mistake, everyone in that room will remember who had the courage to break tradition first. So as episode 8 unfolds, every conversation feels like it's happening on two levels. The words spoken and the silent calculations underneath. The stakes are personal, political, and social all at once, and you can feel it building, scene by scene, toward a finale where every mask comes off and every choice is locked in. By the time the final events of the evening start lining up, the world of the Gilded Age feels like it's standing on a tightrope, one wrong move, and the fall will be spectacular. The biggest symbol of that balance is Bertha's Newport ball, glittering under chandeliers but built on foundations of pure strategy. Every guest invited, every outfit chosen, every whispered conversation, it all means something. This isn't just a celebration, it's a political stage, and Bertha is the one holding the script. The shooting of George might have been a moment of chaos for her family, but tonight, she's flipping the narrative. People won't be talking about danger and weakness. They'll be talking about how the Russells threw the most magnificent event of the season while still standing tall. George's appearance at the ball is key here. The moment he steps into that room, alive and clearly recovering, the entire tone shifts. It's a silent message to every rival: I'm still here and I'm not done yet. He doesn't have to give a speech or call anyone out, just being seen arm in arm with Bertha is enough to shut down half the rumors that have been swirling. And with George smiling, Bertha glowing in her infamous red and white gown, and whispers following them like a trail, you can feel the power dynamic tilting right back in their favor. But even as the couple's public image heals, the private tensions aren't gone. There's still the question of trust between them. Will George's near-death experience be the thing that finally mends their marriage? Or is there still a fracture hiding beneath all that sparkle? Elsewhere in the ball, there are other stories unfolding quietly, some of them only visible to the sharpest eyes. Hector and Gladys share a dance, their expressions softer than we've seen in a while. But there's something almost bittersweet in the air. Gladys looks radiant in her Duchess role, but when Bertha hugs her earlier, it's not just a greeting, it's comfort. We still don't know exactly what news she might have received before arriving here, but the possibility that she learned of George's shooting during her travels is hanging there unsaid but felt. The ball might be dazzling, but for Gladys, the night carries an edge of uncertainty. Oscar's maneuver with Mrs. Winterton also plays out here. Her rival turns heads, not just because of her dark green gown, but because of what her presence represents. People notice things like that, and it sparks a chain of whispered speculation. Why would Bertha allow her in? What favor could Oscar have possibly traded for this? And in a room where every relationship is a currency, this one feels like it could be expensive. Oscar, of course, wears the calm smile of a man who knows exactly what he's doing. If there's one thing about him, it's that his moves are never short-term. Whatever he's setting up here, the payoff is coming later and it might catch everyone off guard. Meanwhile, Agnes and Ada make their entrance. Ada, stepping out of mourning with just a touch of color in her dress, is a small but powerful visual shift. She's been quiet for much of the season, but in the way she moves through the room, there's a sense of renewal. Agnes, ever the watchful presence, seems almost approving. She's never been one to gush, but even she appears ready to back the rekindling between Marian and Larry. It's a rare moment where the usual walls between these characters seem to lower just enough for something real to happen. And speaking of Marian, she's not just another guest here, she's the quiet center of several storylines. Her interactions with Larry are careful, charged, full of everything they've been avoiding all season. In a night where appearances matter most, theirs is one of the most scrutinized. The glances, the way they position themselves near each other, the half smiles, it's all being read by the people around them. Even Bertha, who has had her doubts, might just be reconsidering where she stands on the match. If Marian can win her over tonight, it could change the course of both her personal life and her place in this elite circle. But while the Newport ball glows with gold and crystal, the story outside its walls is still running across town. Preparations for the Black Elite Ball are reaching their peak. It's a completely different kind of event, just as grand in its own way, but with stakes that hit even closer to home for Peggy. She's walking into a room where she's respected, admired, and yet her heart is still tangled up with William. His absence or presence here will speak volumes, not just to her but to everyone watching. In a world where alliances are often about appearance, Peggy needs someone willing to show up for her without hesitation. Whether William has that courage or not is the question we're all holding onto. The tension in episode 8 is that all of these threads are running at once. No one story exists in isolation. Every glance, every dance, every whispered exchange at these two balls is connected, weaving into a final act that will leave some characters stronger and others quietly devastated. And as the night goes on, the sense builds that when the music stops, not everyone will walk away with the ending they wanted. The night doesn't slow down, it deepens. The further we move into the evening, the more it feels like the room is split into two realities, the surface-level beauty of the Newport Ball and the undercurrent of agendas running beneath it. Bertha is in her element here, greeting guests with flawless charm, but always with her mind working 3 steps ahead. She knows every conversation happening around her is a transaction, every smile a possible deal. That's what makes her so dangerous. She can enjoy the glamour and still use it like a weapon. George, meanwhile, is playing his own quiet game, though still recovering. He's careful not to show any weakness. Every handshake is firm, every nod confident. People are watching him for signs. Is he really as strong as he appears? Is this man, who was nearly taken out by a bullet, still the same force in the business world? The answer, at least for tonight, is yes. He's not just attending his wife's ball, he's reclaiming his place in the room, and that presence matters. Because the people who doubted the Russells after his shooting are suddenly realizing their mistake. Then there's the dance between Marian and Larry, not literal, but in the way they keep orbiting each other. They're drawn together yet still cautious, both aware of how public their every interaction is. There's an energy between them that wasn't there before, a kind of urgency. It's as if the near loss of George and the chaos it brought has reminded them that time isn't something they can waste anymore. And the truth is, everyone in the room seems to be rooting for them. Even those who once doubted their match. The looks from Agnes, the softened demeanor from Bertha. It's like the barriers are crumbling in real time, but will that be enough for Marian to finally make her decision? Gladys and Hector are another pair worth watching. For all the smiles they put on, there's a guardedness about them tonight. Gladys, elevated to Duchess and draped in status, still has a vulnerability that peeks through. Bertha's embrace earlier wasn't just a formality. It was a mother reading her daughter's unspoken emotions. And whether it's about the shock of George's shooting, the pressures of her new title, or something more personal, Gladys feels like a character whose happiness is still uncertain. And then Oscar's plot continues to thread through the room like invisible silk. Mrs. Winterton's presence is already causing ripples, the color of her dress sparking debates in hushed tones. Dark green, black, whatever it is, it's not subtle, and neither is her rival. The more people wonder about why she's there, the more Oscar's stock quietly rises. In high society, perception is power, and tonight Oscar is gaining more than anyone realizes. He's planted himself in the middle of a social puzzle. And when the pieces fall into place, he'll be holding more leverage than before. Across the way, Agnes and Ada share a moment. It's nothing grand, nothing loud, but Ada's small step out of mourning is a victory in itself. She's more than just a background figure tonight, she's a symbol of quiet resilience. Agnes, still sharp-tongued when she wants to be, keeps her watchful eye on the room, and when she sees Marion with Larry, there's no sign of disapproval. In fact, it's the opposite, almost as if she's waiting for the inevitable moment when they close the gap completely. But outside of Newport, the Black Elite Ball is its own world of anticipation. Peggy, standing among her friends and her mother, carries herself with dignity, but her heart is somewhere else, or rather, with someone else. William's absence here would sting, but his presence would change everything. And that's the push and pull of his storyline. He's caught between the weight of his family's opinion and the reality of his feelings for Peggy. The moment he chooses one over the other, his character will be defined in the audience's eyes. The contrast between the two balls couldn't be sharper, one glittering with old world wealth and rigid tradition, the other buzzing with energy, culture, and pride. But they're connected by one thing: the decisions being made in these spaces will decide futures. Whether it's marriages, alliances, or personal freedoms. These are the kinds of nights that change trajectories, and with the Gilded Age's talent for weaving personal drama into social history, you can feel that every scene is laying groundwork for something bigger. By the time the night at Newport starts to wind down, the tension is sharper, not softer. Relationships are teetering on edges, secrets are pressing closer to the surface, and the last dances are being taken with people who may not be speaking the next day. And somewhere in the middle of all that beauty, there's the truth that the season's final choices are about to be made, and when they are, there will be no going back. As the Newport Ball presses deeper into the night, the sparkle of the chandeliers almost hides the fact that the entire evening is a battlefield, not of swords or guns, but of glances, whispers, and calculated moves. This is where reputations are either polished to a shine or quietly destroyed, and everyone in the room knows it. Bertha, still standing at the center like a queen in her court, manages to keep her smile even as her mind runs like clockwork. She's tracking who's speaking to whom, which groups are clustering, and who's avoiding each other, if anyone thought she'd let the chaos of George's shooting weaken her. Tonight proves otherwise. She's using the ball to prove the Russells are as solid as ever. And she's winning. George's resilience is part of that victory. Even moving with the careful pace of a man still healing, he commands attention. Conversations pause when he pauses, heads turn. It's not just admiration, it's calculation. People are reassessing him, realizing that if he can survive an attack and show up here looking this steady, then he's still a force to be reckoned with in business and society alike. For his enemies, it's a warning; for his allies, it's reassurance; and for Bertha, it's a perfectly timed display of unity. But as polished as the Russells appear, the undercurrent of personal drama continues to pull at the edges. Marion's position tonight is almost cinematic, torn between her own heart and the expectations around her. She's drawn to Larry, that much is clear, but the weight of their past breakup still lingers. The difference now is that the room, once filled with quiet resistance to their pairing, seems to be leaning in their favor. Even Agnes, who once would have had a sharp remark ready, seems quietly supportive, and Bertha, though not openly matchmaking, isn't shutting the idea down for Marion. This could be the opening she's been waiting for if she's brave enough to take it. In another corner of the ball, Gladys and Hector maintain the image of a happy couple, but there's a flicker of tension beneath it. Gladys's smile is perfect, but when she thinks no one's looking, there's a weight in her eyes. Her role as a duchess is secure, but the personal happiness that should come with it feels more fragile. Bertha's embrace earlier hinted at a mother sensing her child's unease, but in this room, vulnerability has to be hidden behind lace and diamonds. The question is, how long can Gladys keep that mask in place before something cracks? Oscar, meanwhile, is quietly weaving his own narrative. Mrs. Winterton's presence has already been noted by every important pair of eyes in the room, and the subtle shift in tone whenever her name is whispered tells you just how effective Oscar's maneuver has been. The connection between them, the reason she's here at all, and the potential favor she owes him, all of it adds another layer to Oscar's complicated web of social maneuvering. He's not the loudest presence tonight, but in a season where subtlety can be the sharpest weapon, Oscar might just be one of the most dangerous people in the room. And while the Newport Ball is a masterpiece of strategy, the Black Elite Ball across town is alive with a different kind of energy. Peggy moves through the room with her usual grace, but her thoughts are split. The night should be hers, a celebration of her community, her success, and her resilience, but William's absence or presence looms like a question mark over everything. If he shows, it's a statement to everyone in attendance that he's willing to stand with her despite the whispers of his family. If he doesn't, it's a reminder that even in love, class lines still cut deep. Her mother, Dorothy, is at her side, steady and protective, but even she can't shield Peggy from the sting of uncertainty. There's a moment, brief but powerful, when Dorothy's eyes seem to catch someone across the room. And you can almost feel her preparing for a confrontation. Elizabeth, the source of so much frustration, may finally have to face a reckoning. And if Dorothy is the one to deliver it, we might finally hear the words that viewers have been waiting for all season. The beauty of episode 8 is that it's not just about one story or one couple. It's about how these lives intersect. How one decision in Newport can ripple all the way to the Black Elite Ball. And how every action tonight carries a consequence. The season has been building to this, choices that can't be taken back. Alliances that can't be undone. And moments that will define these characters long after the music stops. And as the night moves closer to its end, the stakes are clearer than ever. Some relationships will be mended, others will be broken. And the social order itself may shift in ways no one saw coming. The final stretch of the Newport Ball isn't winding down quietly, it's tightening like a noose. The music swells, couples glide across the floor, and champagne flows like nothing in the world could touch this moment. But behind those practiced smiles and perfect posture, you can feel the undercurrent of tension in almost every conversation. Deals are being sealed with a handshake, while rivalries are reigniting with a single sharp glance. It's the kind of atmosphere where one wrong word could echo through the city by morning and everyone knows it. Bertha, ever the master of reading the room, has shifted gears. She's no longer hosting in the general sense, now she's making targeted strikes, ensuring the right people leave with the right impression. She makes her rounds with surgical precision, planting seeds in conversations that could bloom into opportunities or shut down potential threats. There's no wasted movement, no idle chatter when she leans in to speak to a railroad tycoon. It's not about the weather. It's about reinforcing that the Russells aren't just still in the game. They're running it. George keeps close, enough to Bertha to signal unity, but far enough to work his own brand of influence. His conversations are quieter, heavier. Every man he speaks to walks away either reassured or unnerved, depending on where they stand in relation to him. The fact that he's even here after everything is enough to make people reconsider their positions. He's playing the long game, the kind where you don't just recover from a hit. You make sure your enemies regret ever taking the shot. Marian's path through the evening is more delicate. She's caught in that strange space where personal matters and public appearances overlap. Every time she and Larry share a moment, there's an awareness that eyes are watching. The question isn't whether they care for each other, that's obvious. It's whether they're willing to take the risk of making it public. For Marian, the risk is her own happiness versus the comfort of avoiding scandal. For Larry, it's about whether he can prove to everyone, and to her, that this time he's not walking away. Gladys's night takes a subtle but noticeable turn. A brief exchange with Hector near the edge of the dance floor reveals a flicker of frustration that doesn't match the polished picture they've been painting all evening. It's quick, a look, a tone. The way Hector's hand drops from hers a little too fast, but it's there if Bertha sees it. She doesn't show it. But that's the thing about Bertha, just because she doesn't react in public doesn't mean she isn't filing it away for later. For Gladys, the facade is holding for now. But cracks have a way of widening when no one's watching. Oscar, meanwhile, has been keeping his movements almost ghost-like, never lingering too long in one place. But the ripple effects of his earlier maneuver with Mrs. Winterton are already spreading. Her presence tonight is a pebble in still water. You can't see the full wave yet, but you know it's coming. People are connecting dots, making guesses, and Oscar is letting them. The beauty of his game is that half the battle is letting people's imaginations do the work for him. Across town, the Black Elite Ball has hit its peak, and Peggy is in the center of it. William's entrance, and yes, he does arrive, shifts the atmosphere instantly. Conversations slow, heads turn, and there's a silent calculation in the eyes of those who see him standing at Peggy's side. It's a statement that he's choosing her over the unspoken disapproval of his world. For Peggy, it's a quiet victory, but one she knows will come with consequences. The whispers will follow them. But for tonight, the sight of them together is enough to silence even the boldest gossipers. Dorothy watches the room with the kind of focus only a protective mother can have. When her gaze locks on Elizabeth, the air changes. The polite mask Dorothy wears slips just enough to let you see the steel underneath. This isn't a passing annoyance. It's a confrontation waiting for the right moment, and if Elizabeth pushes even slightly, that moment will come fast and sharp. What ties both balls together, Newport's glittering battlefield and the Black Elite's vibrant celebration, is the fact that every person in both rooms is playing for something. Status, security, love, revenge, it's all on the table. The difference is, in Newport, the fight is hidden under layers of etiquette, while in Peggy's world, the stakes are worn openly. Either way, the night will leave marks. Some doors will open, others will slam shut, and the power dynamics in both circles won't look the same in the morning. The music might be beautiful, the champagne might sparkle, But make no mistake, this isn't just a party, it's a war fought in silk gloves and knowing smiles. And by the end of it, some of these players will be walking away with everything they wanted, while others won't even realize yet that they've already lost. The night's glitter is beginning to fade. But the tension isn't. At Newport, Bertha stands at the top of the stairs, watching the last of her guests depart. Each smile she gives is calculated, each handshake measured. She knows tonight wasn't just about survival, it was about proving she can still set the stage, control the narrative, and force her rivals to play by her rules. But as the doors close, a single thought lingers: she may have won this round, but she's already thinking about the next. George, quieten. The shadows behind her has his own list of enemies to deal with. Some of them smiled at him tonight, some of them pretended not to see him. But all of them will remember that the Russells are still standing, and if George has his way, by the time the next ball rolls around, they'll be standing higher than anyone else. Marian leaves with her mind a storm. Larry's words still echo, promises of a future, of something real. But she's lived long enough in this world to know that promises are just the opening move. The question is whether Larry is ready for the fight that comes after. Gladys, silent beside Hector, hides her thoughts behind a perfect expression. The small crack in their facade tonight might not seem like much to others, but she knows it's the first sign of something that could shatter later. And when it does, the fallout won't be private. Not in Newport. Oscar slips out into the night, satisfied. The real work begins tomorrow, when the whispers about Mrs. Winterton grow teeth. By the time the city decides what's true and what's rumor, Oscar plans to have already made his next move across town at the Black Elite Ball. The music winds down, but the night's significance lingers heavy in the air. Peggy and William's presence together has turned more than a few heads, and not all of them approvingly. Peggy knows that tonight's joy will come at a cost, but for now, she's willing to pay it. Dorothy, still keeping Elizabeth in her sights, walks out into the cool night with her daughter. She doesn't say it out loud, but the war between them isn't over. It's barely started. To different worlds, to very different nights, and yet both balls leave the same aftertaste. This was only the beginning. Behind every toast, every dance, every polite smile was a quiet move in a much bigger game, and as dawn approaches, the pieces are already shifting. The Gilded Age isn't slowing down. It's only getting sharper, colder, and far more dangerous.